Hi, welcome to Phoenix Rising. You all know my co-host, Joe Giaquinto. Joe is going to tell us some wonderful stories today. And they're really not story, they're really adventures of things that have really happened.
They are, and there's so many of them. I'm just gonna pick whatever the spirits give me to
Okay.
pick.
So
Let's just,
since we always talk about death, dying,
yes,
because otherwise you wouldn't have a vocation, a profession, and who would I be talking to? Animals and people that crossed over would cease to exist. But
right.
we've done so many shows over the years, over the decades, really,
Hmm.
about different rituals different cultures have, about different belief systems. And 99% of you know that I was there when my darling Scott left his body and what that experience was. And it was very interesting because it's very hard to explain to people. Death is always something, that many people assume is going to happen to somebody else. I'm not going to die. Well, it's part of life. Yes, we are all going to. But in our culture, it's something almost forbidden. You know, um, if you don't talk about it, it won't happen. None of
Right.
us really prepare for it.
No.
But for me, I really was blessed to be there when Scott died. The experience brought us, it might sound strange, extremely close. He's still with me. He didn't mess with the shower for about 3 weeks until Monday. Monday morning, it was like, hi, honey, I'm home. So maybe he was visiting his daughter, his children, whatever he was doing. But I found this piece of information that I would like to read to you before we
Sure.
start talking with the great stuff Joe's going to share. Because having been around Susie's mom, Annie, who you've channeled when she passed away, and taking my Anam Cara training, many of us out of the field of healing and of being with those in the process of passing don't know what to do when someone dies. It's like, oh, quick, they just died in the chair, in the bed. Let me quick call 911. Let me get hysterical. But here's a very beautiful way to handle it. So make yourself comfy. If you want me to send you a copy of this, send it to my email, one sacredfeatherhealingarts at gmail, and that's not the word one, it's number one. And I'll send you a copy of this. So take a breath, sit back for a minute. When someone dies, the first thing to do is nothing. Don't run out and call the nurse. Don't pick up the phone. Take a deep breath and be present to the magnitude of the moment. There is a grace to being at the bedside of someone you love. I'm getting emotional now.
Hmm.
Of someone you love as they make their transition out of this world. At the moment, I didn't cry when I read this at home. I guess he's here. At the moment that they take their last breath, there is an incredible sacredness in the space. The veil between the worlds opens. We are so unprepared and untrained in how to deal with death that sometimes a kind of panic response kicks in. They're dead. We knew they were going to die, so their being dead is not a surprise. It is not a problem to be solved. It is very sad, but it is not cause to panic. If anything, their death is cause to take a deep breath, to stop, and to be really present to what's happening. If you are at home, maybe put on the kettle, make a cup of tea. Oops, I just lost it. Wait, there's more. Sit at the bedside and be present to the experience in the room. I guess that is it. Is it really it? Wait. Oh, sit at the bedside and just be present to the experience in the room. What's happening to you? What might be happening for them? What other presences are here that might be supporting them on their way? Tune in to all the beauty and the magic. Pausing gives your soul a chance to adjust, because no matter how prepared you are, a death is still a shock. if we kick right into do mode and call 911 or call the hospice, we never get a chance to absorb the enormity of the event. Give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 just to be. You will never get that time back again if you do not take it now. After that, do the smallest thing you can. Call one person who needs to be called. Engage whatever systems need to be engaged, but engage them at a very most minimal level. Move really, really, really slowly, because this is a period where it's easy for body and soul to get separated. These are moments that you will never recapture in their sweetness. So thanks. Thank you for letting me read that to you.
That's beautiful, and it's so true.
Yeah.
It reminds me of so many things to want to talk about, but I'd like to follow up with that with something kind of makes sense to me. So when I do readings, a lot of times people have visitations from the loved one who passed.
Yeah.
One of the regrets a lot of people have is when I tell the client, the sitter, the person I'm reading for, I say, let's say someone's dad or loved one's spouse, and I say, you weren't there when they passed, right? And you know, they're very sad about that.
Yes,
say, "You're right."
sometimes feeling very guilty.
Very guilty. And a lot of times you just can't be there when someone passes. And I think that's why a lot of spirits will come and visit them.
And
as a-
some,
as a-
in the
as a
process of
apparition.
passing, don't want certain friends or family members with them
That's right.
for whatever their reasons.
That happened with me.
It happened with when my mom passed. She sent me home and telepathically, she told David and I, go, this is between me and Vicky.
Yeah,
It was like, okay.
we were camped out in the hospice and my dad was on his last
I
breaths.
remember.
And I had to use the bathroom and I just a quick 1 minute, and as soon as I walked out of the room, he gasped his last breath.
Because that was to be between him and your mom.
Right. Yeah, I never even thought of that, but I also thought he just didn't want to do that. He didn't want to be that vulnerable in front of everybody, or especially his son. But yeah, you know, now I can't believe I've been doing this work now for 43 years, and
Yeah.
working with Carrie Ann Flanagan-Broski.
You're doing a lot of book
We're
signings
doing
and
book
book
signings,
talks now.
yeah, and we've been working now. Next year will be our 19th year
Wow.
together from 2005, and it's just amazing how the
Yeah.
time flies. But the thing is that my view on death is so different now, because we've had people die, friends of mine. We've had some relatives pass, because my dad passed, and you know, when I go to a wake or a funeral, it's just that I have a different view of it, because I know that the body is dying, but the soul just is still
Goes on
fine.
and is watching everyone there. Like my mother, I know, took count of who was at her funeral,
At the funeral, that's
who
right.
showed up and who
And
didn't.
what kind of flowers did they get? The good flowers and the cute flowers, and
Yeah.
Richard Scholler, the medium, he's a friend of Carrie Ann's and I, and the way he got into the mediumship business was he saw all four of his grandparents appear in front of him. He had a clairvoyant image, vision, and they told him that his life was gonna change from that moment, and that's how he realized he had this ability.
Yeah, they helped him.
They helped him.
With Josephine Garangelli, Josephine had the gift, but after her son, her brother, and her parents passed, it magnified tremendously.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I heard that there was another medium that just passed.
Well, at Janet's wake,
Janet, it was Janet.
Janet passed recently.
Right. No, it was another. Somebody just emailed me. I could look up the name, but
Okay. At Janet's wake, I was there. Mark Lyons was there. There were a number of people that recognized me because of the
Right,
show
yeah.
and I guess my connection to Janet. But it was sad, yes, on some levels,
Right.
but yet her passing brought, oh, and Isabella was there with me, Isabella Randazzo. It brought so many people together again, you know?
It does, yeah. There's that cliche, that people get together, family gets together at weddings and funerals.
You know,
So,
and there were some people, as I was saying earlier to Jason, there was even someone there from the old Cablevision days. I don't remember his name, but he had a show. He and another man would talk about movies, and I didn't know his connection to Janet, but I knew him from somewhere. So yeah, we go around and we come around like you and I
that's right. Yeah, we
from
were,
the 1980s, and
yeah, we
then
were at the American Society of Psychic Research and didn't even know it. We were both members there in New York, and
No.
and then
and precious Dr. Osis and
Dr.
Alex.
Osis, yeah. So it is Halloween, and
Yay!
you asked me to put together some stories. So I have
I
different
did.
categories of stories. So maybe you being the eminent host here, and maybe you want to ask me like, what are my favorite this or what are my favorite, and maybe I can, rather me
All
just
right,
ramble on.
so I had asked somebody what was their most memorable and what was their most dramatic.
Oh boy.
So let's go with what was the one that touched your heart the most?
Right.
Whether it was a reading, a Ouija board, because the Ouija board that we did here at LTV with the plane crash,
Yes, that
was extremely
I
emotional.
would say that one is one of the top ones, and that just, you want to refresh everybody about that, or just
A number of years ago in the Napeague Strip, there was a small private plane that crashed. We'll leave all names out of
Right.
this. And we were doing the Ouija board in Studio 2.
Mhm.
We had an audience, and Joe does not watch the news. I don't think Joe could care
No.
less about the news. And he didn't know about the crash that happened maybe within the 48-hour block of that show.
Right. When we first did the show, it happened.
Right, and so what Spirit was doing with, what do you call the pointer thing?
The
Transom.
marker, the marker.
The marker.
Yeah,
So what
flashing.
Spirit would do, and we have it on film here in the archives, is Spirit would lift my right hand up, remember?
Mhm.
And they would like have it do things that I can't physically do, and they'd make my veins pop, and people would go, oh, doesn't it scare you? It was like, no, because they were being playful, and it was all the energy going through me. You didn't know my cousin died, and he came through on the board one
Right.
day.
Right.
And it was like, uh-oh. I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't tell you. My cousin Eric died, and he's spelling out Eric, and he gave you beautiful messages. But with the plane crash, Joe is, we had our fingers together on the pointer, and it has obviously a mind of its own. It's spirit moving it. And Joe had this incredulous look on his face because it was serial numbers for an airplane.
Yeah, it was like a registration. It wasn't the
And
numbers,
it was
but
you recognized it because you have a history of being a pilot.
right.
To me, it was just an obscure combination.
Right. And yeah, and I felt like even that the numbers may not have represented the actual registration number on the
It gave you the
Fuselage.
insight into airplane.
It did. I suddenly saw an airplane, and of course I turned the ghost box on the way home.
On the way home.
And actually talked to the people who died in the plane, including the pilot.
He was from Hampton Bays.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was
right.
so
It was Hampton Bays.
profound that, and rightfully so, LTV could not release the show to be
Right.
shown for well
That's
over
right.
a year until all the investigations were done.
Yeah, I've been watching for the final NTSB report, the National
Yeah.
Transportation Safety Board, and
It's not out yet, is it?
it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they finished it. Evidently, the plane, he was stuck under some low clouds, and he got into some thunderstorm activity, which caused him to either crash or might have caused the wings to fall off or something. But
Right.
basically, he got into a severe thunderstorm, got under it, heavy rain, and he probably just
There
ended
was
up
no
hitting
controlling
water.
the plane.
That's right. He probably lost.
And with
reference.
thunder and lightning, it'd have an effect on the controls,
Well,
etc.
it could. Mostly the turbulence, severe
Okay.
turbulence, and heavy, severe rain. Probably couldn't see where he was going. Might have ditched it.
And it was a
into the
small
water.
plane.
Yeah, probably hit the water.
Yeah.
So that was it. But yeah, so that was, I would say that was the most dramatic one and memorable, or most loving one. Oh, there's so many. One of them is it's funny. We were at a library doing a book signing a couple of days ago. Actually, at the Cold Spring Harbor Whaling Museum. The day
Okay.
before.
That's an amazing place. I
It
haven't
is.
been there in so long.
It's really beautiful. And we did the event, and a couple of people came up, husband and wife, that had been in my group for years. And I have a funny, humorous clip. Maybe next time we're on the air,
Okay.
we'll play it, where their 12-year-old son Bobby, who's now 27, asks my spirit guide a question, and you hear my spirit guide tell him to go ahead with the question on the EVP recorder. But there was another 12-year-old boy that his name was Anthony, and his parents were with him and myself at the Orient Church several years ago.
Okay.
And his karate teacher, Amanda Malloy, came through on a reading. We were
Orient is a very active place.
It's a very active place, and I wasn't expecting to do a reading. I actually was doing a ghost investigation there. And my group was on the upstairs in the church auditorium with the pews and the the choir area. But I was downstairs in the dining hall and just letting them do their thing upstairs, And Mike and Christine were down there, and Anthony was there, and just out of the blue, he says, "Can you talk to my karate teacher who died? She actually got run over by somebody under the influence. She was out jogging.
Oh my
It's very sad, Amanda Malloy." And so I said, "Well, sure, I'll see what I can pick up." Now, I had the EVP recorder on because we were doing a ghost investigation. So I have it on in case I get any voices.
Right.
So I started this reading. I turned it into a reading, and she came through big time. And the husband and wife were asking me really tough questions. It was almost like I was getting a mediumship qualification test. Like they asked me what was her favorite baseball team.
Oh, okay.
What did she look like?
Oh, you were being tested.
I was. Anthony was asking very spiritual questions
A child.
He was asking things like, one great question he asked is, what's it like for her, like energy wise on the other side? And I said that she was learning how to karate chop her way through energy fields, like to transit through, like go through walls or go to other dimensions. So he asked great questions, but she was coming through on the tape recorder. So Anthony would say, "Does she know I got my green belt?"
Yeah.
And in my mind, I would hear her say, "Yes, she's very proud of him." And then on the tape recorder, like a second or two before or after my comment, which I didn't hear because it was a white noise recorder, so I'd have to play it back later, you'd hear her say yes. And the end of it was evidently Anthony was getting into a lot of fights at school. And he didn't have to because he's the karate kid, right?
Right,
So
and he could have taken a more gentle way
he could have taken
out.
a more gentle way. So Amanda comes through to me and tells him the advice. I said that you have to take the higher road. You don't need to prove yourself. Walk
Okay.
away from the physical confrontation. Take a peaceful approach, etc. So she leaves an EVP that I later hear as I'm explaining it, and you hear her say, "Thank you, that's perfect." She's making these comments to me while I'm
Right.
doing it. But she leaves it. She says on the EVP, "You have to be really cool first." Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So that's so I think that one was for me was very special because it just shows that you can pull somebody through that left the earth maybe and weren't ready to leave. She was in the prime of her life, young. She was in excellent
Totally
shape.
unexpected.
Totally unexpected. But they really grilled me on that one. But that was fun. I wasn't expecting a reading that night. That was one of my earlier readings. So
Yeah.
but keep ask me something else too. So
Okay.
whatever. This is your.
Oh my goodness! Now
I'm
I'm on the spot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So and you've told this before. So is your mother gifted also?
She is.
I never asked you that. So when she's painting, is she channeling someone
she
or
is.
something
She
when
does
she paints?
abstracts, and when she does them, we see faces in them. and
Does she
animals.
have, I've never seen your mother after all these years. So what is the connection between your mother and Frida?
I don't know. I don't know, but
Frida, folks, Frida
right,
Kahlo.
yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. Let me think about that one.
Because I don't know why I said that, but I had to say
Yeah,
that to
well,
you.
I have a big connection with Frida
Did
Kahlo.
you see the painting out
I
in the
did, yeah,
LTV
as a kid,
hallway?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frida Kahlo was a Mexican artist. She was married to who was it? Drawing a blank, getting old. But she was married, and she had a bus accident. She was in like a wooden trolley,
Mm.
and one vehicle ran into the other, and she was fine. She got off the bus, but she went back to get her purse or something, and the bus, from the compression of being hit, exploded, and
She was there.
all these wooden spikes went all over the place and went right through her. So the
Mm.
rest of her life was a very painful life. And so what she did is, when she was in a hospital bed, she would start painting self-portraits of herself,
Yeah.
with animals with her. And Frida was just beautiful. So I got some, as you know, I got some spirit photos from her, including her signing her name, Frida,
Mm-hmm.
and one self-portrait with monkeys around her, which was really beautiful. And I didn't know she had a portrait actually with monkeys. Um, and I do want to tell some stories,
Okay.
some ghostly Halloween stories.
So what's the scariest story, since we want to scare everyone?
Yeah.
It's Halloween.
I would say probably 1980, when I moved into that boarding house.
That house,
The
yes.
Amityville Horror House,
Yeah.
upstate New York, not the one.
Not
in-
not the one- not
Yeah,
the Long Island
Not
one.
the one, yeah. Actually, it's
The
funny.
one where you had to move out and the landlord just said,
Yeah,
just go.
actually, Carrie and I were at the Copake Library last week, and the Amityville Horror House came up in conversation.
Mm.
And I said, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that." And she said, "Oh, it's right down the street. It's like we're literally like right down the street from, maybe
Yeah.
down the block." And I was like, "Really?" So
Did you walk over or drive over?
I did not. No.
That energy has to be so unsettled.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. See,
I don't know that. I'm not sure. I would hope that people went and did a clearing or a
they
cleansing in
did.
time.
They redid the house too. They changed the outside.
Yeah.
They had the eyebrow windows on the top. Like I think they got rid of those. But the problem with that house, it wasn't, a lot of it was hype, but
Yes.
the murder was definitely the DeFeo family. That was definitely for sure. In fact,
Right.
one of my clients, her nephew, actually tried to buy that house from him and said that there was a lot of drugs there. It was just very bad. But the murder, so that's what happened to me. I moved into a boarding house where someone had probably been murdered, because the energy was so bad. And things started manifesting. Things started appearing, materializing in the room where this energy was.
Yeah.
And I finally had to move out. And that was really the only scary kind of horror, kind of Amityville type experience I ever had. Everything else from 1980 on has been just beautiful.
Beautiful. And my experience was in the early 80s, right before you and I first met. We moved into a house in Oceanside, and I didn't want this house at all. And it was too small for us, because it would have been me, the child we had together, my youngest son, who was just a few months old at the time, my 3 sons from my previous marriage, and some of his 5 children from his previous marriage. At least one of them would have been with us. So you're having approximately 5 kids sleeping in the house at least 4 or 5 nights a week. You need a big house. This was a 2-bedroom cape.
Oh.
No, but he was a contractor. But this was before I really began consciously blossoming. So let me see, Jonathan, it had to be very early 1982, because he was just walking, and he had a head of hair on him that was just gorgeous. Side effect. But anyhow, this travel agent, this real estate agent, brings us into the house, and my husband is like, he's really happy with this house. And I'm like, ugh, at the end of the street is the high school or junior high school, so people are gonna be up and down buses, across the street from a supermarket, mice, rats. There's nothing about this house that I
Yeah.
want.
Right.
So we walked in and he feels this welcoming energy, which we weren't calling it then. He just loved the house. When we walked in, and I will never forget this, I've shared this with you before, we walked in and I felt as if I was slammed up back against the front door.
It was the woman, right? The woman ghost.
Don't come in here. We don't want you. We want him.
Right.
We don't want you. So obviously we ended up buying the house and he finished, the basement was finished. One of the boys had a bedroom down there. We dormered out, 2 more bedrooms. So 2 bedrooms, main floor, 1 bedroom downstairs, 2 bedrooms upstairs. And it never felt right, whatever it was. You know, I made the best of it. We had a lot of kid parties there and stuff like that. And the kids that were upstairs started telling us what they were seeing. And they were not prone to making things up. And we listened, we really didn't act on anything. One of the closet doors with the sliding doors wasn't finished at that time. And one of my boys was in that bedroom that night. And he told me that there was a young girl standing in that closet wearing a green corduroy jumper, and she had red hair. And it was terrifying. And then the next thing he saw, and the 2 boys in the other bedroom saw it also, was a huge, what they called the crooked man. So a very big physical body, but his head was very crooked.
That's really scary.
Very terrifying. And they, of course, they were screaming about this. And we thought, oh, bad dreams, whatever. And I'm thinking, no, something is really wrong. And I'm remembering being thrown up against the door when we moved in. And you went downstairs by the other boy's bedroom, where it should have been very warm. There's a big fireplace down there too. It was always ice cold down there,
I'm seeing this. I'm seeing that room now in my mind, and it almost looks like a concrete cell.
Well, they made it look nicer, but probably concrete on the other side of
But I mean,
whatever the wall was
just
finished
it's
with.
very icy.
Very icy. And just something so very wrong. And one night, my husband and I are sitting in the living room. The other boys were visiting their other parents, and it was just us with the youngest in the bedroom, his bedroom, right off the living room. And he starts calling out. He's very, very young. And it was so frightening that the 2 of us tried to get through the doorway at the same time. And he said, "The crooked man's here. The man is here." And it was like, oh, heck no, no one is taking my baby. So I reached out to my eldest sister, who was involved in a spiritual group at the time. And I went upstate and I spent a day or 2 with her, and my precious brother-in-law has crossed over. And I ended up getting help, and I started taking a course at Nassau Community College in paranormal psychology. And my professor, I wish I could remember her name, I have to have documents somewhere with her on it. She said, when I felt safe, I told her what was happening in my house.
Right.
One night there was an entity at the foot of my bed that froze me. I couldn't call for help. I couldn't get out of bed. When I finally got out, I don't know how I did it. I got into the living room and I was a wreck. And it was like, we have to look for a place. We have to move. Can't stay here. That's when we came out to the Hamptons. But when I felt safe, I told my professor, and she said, "I'm so glad that you confided in me. We have an adult class trip coming up to the Institute. I want you to talk to Dr. Osis and tell him about it." And Dr. Osis, you just had to adore him. He sounded like Bela Lugosi, remember?
Yeah, I always thought of him as
He
sort of
was like a grandfather.
like Peter Cushing
Yeah,
or Doctor Who,
right, but
something.
his accent was Bela Lugosi.
Oh yeah, yes.
And he worked with Alex Tannhaus, who was a very well-known psychic medium that worked with the local police departments and found many criminals, murderers, etc. And I talked to him, and he's very tall, very impressive, very kind. And they came to the house, and I told my husband they're coming, and he didn't want to be there because he had a relationship with this female energy. And when they came to the house, it just tickled me so. I will never forget it. They pulled into the driveway. Dr. Osis was driving, and Alex's shoes, his sneakers were untied. He was so nerdy,
Yeah.
but he had the kind of beautiful face,
Yeah, I remember his
the
pictures.
kind
Yeah.
of eyes that even if he was looking at you over here, you felt the energy of his eyes seeing you over there. And they had me and the babysitter step outside when they did their investigation with their ghost boxes and things like that, all these Geiger counter type things. And one of the things that Alex said to me, he held Jonathan in his arms for a few moments. And when Jonathan was born, he had to wear the bars between his shoes.
Oh, my sister had that. Yeah.
So he had on these very high ankle shoes to, keep his ankles straight.
Right.
And Jonathan just he liked the energy of both Dr. Osis and Alex. And Alex looked at me and he said, the baby has a hole in the bottom. Because he saw there was a hole in the bottom, but Jonathan's sock through the shoe and was like, I'm so embarrassed, right? But he didn't want us in the house because he didn't want you giving any body language hints as to where energy was or what you were seeing out of the house. And they nailed it everywhere. My bedroom, downstairs, everywhere.
They picked every spot they had.
Every single spot. And my husband said no, because he didn't want her to leave. But because of her being there, maybe she was such a new spirit, she didn't know how to control others from coming in, which all these negative energies were coming in.
Yeah, it's very important when you do this work, as you know, to set sacred space you have to tell the spirit world who you want to talk to.
When we would set up that gate, when we would do Ouija boards.
That's right, yeah. I was thinking about some of the places I've investigated and how much energy is manifested, how much energy the spirits play with. Like I remember East Wind in Hampton Bays, the old Coast Guardsman boarding house that was also used by one of the politicians from Tammany Hall, the corruption days in New York, and also later by there was this fellow that used to host Wall Street weekend party bashes for the South Street crowd. So I had a lot of energy in that place. It was even at one time they had students dorming there, and they had the female wing and the male part
on the mainland side of the Ponquag Bridge.
Yeah, this is it's off of Ram Pasture.
Yeah.
And so I went into the first time I went in, I think it was in August. The owner let me go in all alone. We were going to do a fundraiser because I was on the Hampton Bays Historic Society Board of Directors. So we were going to do a fundraiser there. So when I got to go in there on my own, the owner was outside downstairs. There's no one else in the house. And I'm on the third floor, and this wood door panel, like a closet door or something, which was held on with wing nuts. So, I mean, if you want to try to explain it away, you could say, well, maybe it wasn't
They were
tight.
loose.
But there was nobody upstairs. And I wasn't banging my feet walking down the hall. This thing just came flying off the wall and landed right in front of my feet.
Oh.
And I remember stopping. I just stopped and I went, excellent. Excellent. Like something out of some comedy movie, right? Like Hold That Ghost, like Abbott Costello or something. So then we did the fundraiser, and then I went back in there, I think, once or twice to do an event with my group. I remember once I was doing the group tour, and we were upstairs, and we were on the other side of the house where there was like a widow's walk or something, widow's entrance. It was like a little door, So I'm standing with the door, my back to the door. I'm in this room, and I think this was the room that they had 4 beds. It was for the females' room, the dorms room. And then I'm standing there and I'm talking, and all of a sudden, one of the group, she just like starts screaming, and she runs down the hall out of the house. And like, what is she seeing that I'm not seeing? So they're like motioning behind me. So the door was going like this, opening, like, come on
Freaked
in.
her out, yeah.
It freaked her out. And that's happened a lot. Carrie and I, when we first went to William City Mound House in Stony Brook,
Mm,
William wanted us to talk to him.
okay.
Now, he was a genre painter. He was an inventor. He
Mm,
was also a political type of person. His paintings actually were political statements. And he's a very strong spirit. He was a spiritualist.
okay.
But towards the end of his life, somebody talked him out of it, said it was all a scam.
Okay. It's a lot of
fake.
hooey.
A lot of hooey, and he got very disgruntled and he gave up his belief
Oh.
in spiritualism. Now, of course, once he passed,
He's
he's
like,
back to-
wow, I nailed it.
yeah, so that was why he talks to us, I think, one of his missions. So we've had a lot, and I'll go over the contact,
Mm,
some of the things he's done, because they're very Halloweenish,
Yeah.
very exciting to talk about. But yeah, William came back, and so we went to the house, and there was a little like a summer kitchen there in this house, a big old beautiful house. It's like just like a giant, looks like a boarding house kind of
Okay.
thing. It was painted yellow at the time. I don't know what they painted it now, but it's right off of 25A, and has some outbuildings, has barns and stuff. So all of a sudden, this little door, the screen door, it was a windless day. It was the middle of summer. It was very hot, and the door was on a heavy spring. So you could, if you opened it, it would snap back.
Yeah.
So this thing just opens. It just goes like beckons, and then it closes down. Then at the same time, two red-tailed hawks start flying circles over Carrie Ann and my head.
I love it.
I get an EVP where I'm telling Carrie Ann that William C. Mount was a spiritualist, but then he later didn't believe in it. And on the EVP recorder, you hear a man say, "That's true." We
Mhm.
finally got to go in the house when Ward Melville bought the home.
Okay.
And when we walked in the home, the first thing that happened to Carrie Ann was a giant 2x4 came flying down, made a big racket. I came running in the room, said, "What
What
happened?"
happened?
Yeah. Well, we went upstairs, we got a lot of orbs, and we did this extended ghost box recording where he
Okay.
talks to us at length. We also saw in the attic where he used to paint when he was alive, he lived there with his family. He had these shelves where he had all his paint palettes. He
Mm,
actually had swatches of paint on the side of the shelving, and he
Okay.
wrote in all the names of the different paint colors, and
Yeah.
that was how he painted. I got a call after we visited the house the first time. My sister called me all excited and said, because they collect artwork, they have
Okay.
antiques and grandfather clocks. They love to go to Connecticut. And
What did
flea
she
market.
get?
She says, "We got a famous painting." Now remember, this is just right after we went to his house for the first time. And I said, "Really? Who's the artist?" I'm thinking Picasso, Rembrandt,
Yeah.
She said, "William Sidney Mount's brother, Alfonso Shepherd." So, and the painting's hanging in the top of the stairway in her home. It's a beautiful painting. It's a model, a sitting model. So much went on with William Sidney Mount. Carrie Ann felt like he was there with her while she was writing the story about him. So she said to me, "Can you getting anything from him?" I said, "Well, you want me to talk to him?" So I think this was in 2009 or something like that, or 2008. And I said, "I'll talk to him." So I start talking in his language. I'm writing this email to her.
Yeah.
She had his diaries. I never read his diaries. When she matched up my conversation verbatim with his diary, it was exactly the same. And it was interesting because it was like, "I wish to call your liege with a good heart to my crusade so that we can."
It's not
It was
our
like,
manner of speaking
no, it was
now.
like 1800s, early 1900s speech, kind of almost like King's English or something. But it was really beautiful. And again, William just keeps talking to us on a regular basis.
That's so awesome.
And this is a guy that lived, like I said, he's been dead for generations. And Robert Townsend for the Culper Spy Ring, we've been in contact with him. Frida Kahlo. I got a spirit photo from Henry Matisse. And he has three identifying marks on that photo. One being his monogram,
Yeah.
his face, his self-portrait that you can find on Google, and also one of his cardboard silhouette cutouts of a female stretched with arms.
What you do with the spirit photography is amazing.
Would you like to see one?
Yes, we would.
Okay. So let me see. So this one I call the man in the bottle. See him with the white suit?
Oh my
Fine.
gosh, yes, and I could even see him smiling.
Yeah, and this is actually, I do work with these photos to bring them out. So
Yeah,
I do
hold it up
estimate-
so the guys could close
Yeah.
up on it. Yeah, hold it up to your camera.
Can they see that?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I'm
no,
looking
there,
at the
on my
monitor.
camera,
Yeah,
there
it's
it
good.
So you can see he's wearing his
A
little.
white suit, and
white
looks like
suit,
there's something,
little
maybe a
tie.
blue tie with
Yeah.
a circle in it.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a guy on TV, Michael, oh gosh, Michael McNamara, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, so, and this is the bottle. This is where
Yeah.
they generate the image. So what I do is, see, what happened was, I used to go to these haunted houses and I would get reflections in the windows, and I said, well, I'm a medium. Spirits don't have to be stuck in the house. They could come to my house and I could ask them I can give them something reflective to create an image on. I said,
Right.
come talk to me. And so I started doing that, and I was like, several years ago, the late 2008, 9, something like that.
And I believe that they gave you that message. Pay attention. You don't have to come to us. We could come to you.
Exactly. Yeah, because my first apparition, I had two first apparitions. One was a while back when I was still living in New York and I was on the road. I was doing sales, and I stayed at the Logan Inn in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and I got a disembodied head floating in a mirror in the dining room. And then the one that really was major was when I got the Civil War soldier at the Quaker Cemetery in Bethpage State Park near the golf course.
Is that the one I have the picture of?
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah. So that one. But I have a couple more. You want to see?
Yes, we do. We do. I'm speaking for everyone.
You have Scott's here.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is.
So here's another one.
Okay.
Oops.
I'm glad you put them next to you.
So this one.
Yes.
Yeah,
She is beautiful.
Yeah, I get a lot of Asian type influence in the art that they give. So what the spirits do is they're giving us art, basically.
Yeah.
And I have this mission. I want them to be able to continue bringing art to us even after their death.
And to your right side,
Mhm.
by your index finger,
Mhm.
and that burgundy color, it's almost as if there's an image of a child somewhere in there.
In
That's
here?
the sensation that I get.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff. These are.
And there's a forest behind her.
Oh, there's so much.
Yeah.
I have to isolate the stuff because it's just
Yeah.
I see multiple images. Let me show you one more.
I love
Do you
this.
like Star Trek?
Oh yes, we saw this. I love Star Trek.
Yeah, this is.
If you're a Trekkie, you are gonna love this so much.
So just a little backstory on this. All right, so the first time I got spirit photos, I had bought. There was this. I call it the lady in the bottle story. So I was on eBay with my brother-in-law. And, we're Christmas and we're buying tchotchkes and stuff, right? And there was this carnival glass decanter, something like you'd see in I Dream of Jeannie, one of those old shows, right? But it had all the little facets. It was like an amber color and had a little glass facets. And the story was that this ghost hunter had caught a woman ghost that was haunting this house. He got her trapped in this bottle and he corked the bottle so she couldn't get out. And now he was selling it on eBay to some other, so it would get out of his house. And then if you buy it, you better let the woman out of the bottle soon because she's going to be really upset, right? So I bought the bottle. I thought it'd be kind of cool, just a talking, something.
Right,
to talk about.
conversational
piece, yeah. And so I put it in the basement in a storage box. And it was only my dad, my mom, and I in the house at the time. And I was upstairs, and all of a sudden I hear a crash. I said, "What's that?" And we don't have any dogs. We don't have anything. Any kids could knock something over. And I go downstairs and I already knew what it was. I could see it in my mind. The box with all the stuff in it had fallen over and only one thing rolled out of it.
She wanted to get out of that
She wanted to
bottle.
get out of the bottle. So it was the decanter. And it was uncorked.
Ah.
Yeah, the cork, it was actually like a glass topper, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
cork, but it was off. So I said, damn, she's out now.
She's out.
So I went upstairs and I quickly got my camera thinking maybe I'd catch a genie coming out of the bottle or something, right?
Right.
Instead, I got all these little faces, all little impressions and faces and things on all these little facets. So I said, wow, this is really cool. They're like little mirrors.
Yeah.
So I started photographing the bottle on a regular basis. And several years ago, it wasn't recent, so as we all know, William Shatner, Captain Kirk, went up when, I guess, Blue Origin went up to space.
Right.
So really, Captain Kirk really did go to space.
Yes,
which I
he
think is
did,
cool too,
finally.
right? So, but I got this image that looks like Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy. You ready?
Yeah. This is so good.
Now you could see that, so these round ovals, these are the
Facets in the-
decanter, the decanter, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a great image.
It's beautiful because it looks like he's framed,
It-
but you could even see the insignia on the left side of his shirt.
Yes, and you could see his kind of profile,
Mm-hmm.
his ear, his traditional blue shirt, right, his black collar,
Yeah.
and his black pants, and
Yep.
they even put a little white circle of it, which is, I think, is supposed to be the transporter beam.
That's that's a
Right?
very good
'Cause
insight.
it's
Yeah.
like a little, so that was, now, again, it's a rough image, because first of all, this thing is like that small.
Yeah.
It was taken with a low resolution camera, but they do that, and
Yeah. May I for a second?
sure, yeah.
That is just, it's so amazing.
It's just, I know, it's
So many wonderful, I like the way you mat it too.
yeah, they this is another one last one here.
Okay.
It's okay. This one, this man is like a prophet or a cleric or
Oh,
something.
I haven't seen this
Oh,
one.
no? Oh, good. Can you see the camera? See it?
Oh, he's ancient.
Yeah. And what I like about this one, there's a lot in here. If you look here, there's musicians here. Let me see. There's actually an instrument here. See it, like a balalaika or a lute,
Yes.
or a mandolin right here.
Yeah.
See that? So there are these musicians behind you playing, and then of course him. Where you can
Yeah.
see his face and the.
He looks very biblical.
Yes, yeah. I get a lot of spiritual photos. I have one of a prophet that there's an angel like this, and there's this star field behind him, and he looks like Jesus. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful
Yes.
image.
Be aware of the photographs you're taking. I sent Joe a photograph about 2 days ago. I was sitting outside on the back deck, and there's a little memorial area set up on the property for someone very close to us on the property.
Mhm.
There was a rainbow.
Mhm.
The other day, the rainbow. And when I sent Joe the picture, I made a video. I said, I have to do this because it's me sitting on the deck, some grass, and the part of the ring of trees around my cottage. And on the other side of the trees is a mist in this one
Right, I
little
saw that,
contained
yeah.
area. And just to show him the difference, I said, here, took the cell phone and I said, and I'm moving it here. That's where the mist ends. No mist, no change in the lighting or anything.
Mhm.
And that's where the mist is.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a common thing too. That orbs,
Yeah.
ectoplasm.
Faces in the flames. So we only have, believe it or not, 4 minutes left. Would you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Sure. They go to my website. It's joegmediumpi.com. Just think of Magnum PI.
Yeah.
And the way I've told that story before, but the way I got that name, Joe G Medium PI, is Carrie Ann and I were investigating the Execution Rocks Lighthouse. We were out there with Homeland Security, with the Coast Guardsmen,
Yeah.
and the Nassau County PD flew a helicopter out to see what was
Yeah.
going on, because it's an off-limits area. And they were flying around and around the lighthouse, the lens, where we were at the top of the lighthouse. And I'm smiling, and Carrie says, "Why are you smiling?" I said, "I feel like I'm in an episode of Magnum PI."
And you
So,
were,
yeah, we
and
were,
that's where it
really
came
were.
from.
But,
My dear friend, I thank you so much for making the drive out again. We always have such a good time, and the hour always goes pew.
it really does. It really does.
So
And
fast.
next time, remind me to play that recording of
Oh, we'll give it to
the horn honking. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so you know the one where I.
Oh,
the
I
spirits
remember
speak?
that completely.
Well, we've updated it
Okay.
because I went to the Port Jefferson Brewery and I was doing these little events, talking about ghosts and stuff. And I'm telling the story. I actually played the clip that has all of the times that every time I said the Conklin
Right.
Barn and the ghost meter, you'd hear a car
Yeah.
horn randomly beep. So I'm telling them this story, and all of a sudden you hear wah wah wah, and I said, "Is that a car?" They say, "No, it's the Port Jeff ferry blowing its
Oh,
horn."
how funny.
So I added that, and
Okay.
then next time I went out there, I played the whole clip, and it was
All right. Yeah, that would be fun to
Yeah.
hear. And next time we'll tell you more about Dr. Osis
Yes.
and Alex
Yeah, we have
Tanas.
to go on that trip and see where they are.
Yes, we definitely do. And maybe you could channel them while we're sitting here. And maybe next time we'll do a Ouija board. We haven't done a Ouija board in this new part of the studio
Right,
yet.
no, yeah.
You
Be
know,
fun.
so, you can email me and let me know, what you'd like Joe and I to focus on and do, and we'd be more than happy to help you out if we can. So,
Great, thank you for having me on.
thank you. And thank you all for watching and supporting the show. And if you get a hold of me in the store or in a parking lot or something and you say, I know you, don't mind my first immediate look of shock. I after doing it all these years, I'm still like, who do I know you? Where do I know you from?
People come up to you like you haven't seen in 2 or 3 years, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hi, Joe," and like,
Hello?
"Hi, hello," yeah,
My memory is gone. So let's do a little meditation
okay,
before we close,
Sure.
okay? Sit back and close your eyes and envision a beautiful golden globe over your head. And this is your soul star. And at the crown of your head, your crown chakra, envision it opening up like a beautiful goblet opening up. And the soul star is shining brightly in. Millions and millions of tiny little golden stars are shimmering down into you, balancing you, clearing you, and healing you on every level of your being. Breathe in all of this precious golden healing energy, unconditional love and light. And each time you exhale, you're exhaling it, surrounding you, surrounding everything and everyone in this universe and universes beyond. Thank you, love, light, blessings, and thank you very much.
thank you. Oh, I
And
felt
thank you
tingle.
everyone
I
from
felt the
LTV
energy.
and the guys in the booth and Ellen, everyone, Michael, they're just so wonderful to us
Yeah,
here.
thank you all.
Thank you all so much. And